Hey guys, it's Benson from the Game Dimension coming at you live. Welcome to the first planned video for 2021. Again, Crash Bandicoot was the first video of 2021, I know, but that was planned for 2020. This review here is the first official start to the Game Dimension. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer than usual. It's still around the month mark, I believe, but weather was not my friend here in New England when it came to live action recording, and as you know, I'm a perfectionist, so kind of delayed that a bit, honestly, but here we are. I know it's a premiere. You can thank my friends for that, honestly, but the real reason I'm here is I have two announcements. Two announcements. I'm a little tired. Before we get to the review. First of all, I am now streaming. I've been playing with this idea. If you follow me on Twitter, which you absolutely should, because this is where you get the most updates from me, I've been playing with the idea for streaming, not just for fun and to have some fun with my friends, but also to record footage for my reviews and make it like a, you all can chill with me while I have some fun, and I get footage for reviews type of thing while I stream, so it works out. But that part kind of turned into a failure because the way I wanted to record it isn't working, and it compromises how I usually do my stream, so I gotta work around that a little bit, but for now, they're kind of recording and streaming are separate. But either way, as of right now, I am still streaming. You can follow me on Twitch, Benson1997 at twitchtv.com. The time of me recording this update, in 8 days, have already hit affiliate, and I'm officially an affiliate while I'm recording this. So thank you to everyone that has come from the streams for making this channel and making streaming fantastic as it is. Like, I would not be doing this without you guys. But for those of you that haven't followed my Twitch yet, that will be in the description below. I will also make it a part of my channel profile, so that way you can know. But there's no schedule for streaming. It's just a stream whenever type of thing. But yeah, I am streaming now. I kind of wanted to keep it a surprise for the 1 year anniversary around June because I have something big for that. But as we all know, nothing goes planned on the Game Dimension, and I kind of just jumped into it. So that's update number one. The second update is actually something that I'm also a part of. For those of you that don't know, I have a friend named George Mario Nerd, and he is a fantastic YouTuber, and he runs a lot of Mario stuff. He has graciously invited me and Shroob Invader, who is another fantastic YouTuber, to do a podcast about Mario RPGs called Flatmates. And sorry, I had a burp. And it's so much fun. It really is exciting to be a part of this project. We don't really have a schedule as of right now. Only episode 1 has come out. We're all busy on our own projects, so we haven't recorded the next episode yet by the time this episode comes out on the Game Dimension. But it's a lot of fun. It's a short podcast. We're aiming for around, I know the first episode's like an hour long almost, but we're trying to aim around half an hour, 45 minutes for each episode. But the three of us are doing that on his channel. There will be a playlist on my channel for everything Flatmates in case you don't subscribe, which actually you should subscribe. So no excuse. You absolutely should subscribe to these two. The chemistry between us is phenomenal. Like, I've known George Mario Nerd for a while now. He's a great person. Shroob Invader, I literally talked to on voice for the first time when we recorded, and the chemistry is just, I hit my mic. The chemistry is just electric. It's all out of the park. Like, you could not tell that we literally just started talking on voice call all together for the first time. It's an amazing episode. There were technical difficulties as things go, but people still seem to enjoy it, and I hope you guys do too. But go subscribe to them and go watch Flatmates. I'm a part of that, as we all know. So, I like to be involved in everything. So now make that like so many. I've lost track of how much stuff I'm a part of. But yeah, those are my two updates for today. Streaming, Benson1997, again in the description. Flatmates with George Mario Nerd and Shroob Invader. Please go subscribe to them. I'll have their channel links in the description below, and also the link to the first video. The playlist will also be on the channel. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as the cuckoo clock goes off behind me, that being said, I think it's time that we premiere the official start to the Game Dimension 2021. And if you couldn't tell from the thumbnail or the game that we're reviewing in the title, it's a fun one. This was an interesting one to make. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'll talk to you guys soon. Please follow all my socials for any updates. And have a good day, guys. Stay frosty. Everywhere I go, I just see him. He's always there. I thought I could shake him, but I guess some childhood bonds never die. I sure wish this one did. A shadow that follows me wherever I go, taunting me, wanting to meet for old time's sake. But I can't do that. I've grown, moved on, realized that the times we had were just because I was so young, so innocent, and that he was just a bizarre addiction I quit. But I can't help but want to go back and just see him again. His tall, slanky demeanor, his Cheshire grin, or at least what I think is him trying to grin, his wacky movements and how he tries to make himself seem cool, and his most distinguishable feature that I see even in my dreams, his hat, his striped, iconic, almost welcoming, big hat. Which is actually really big even for him when you think about it. I mean, I like dressing up as much as the next guy, but it almost feels like he's compensating for something. Anyways, yes, despite thinking I've outgrown our silly memories, I can't help but want to go back one last time. But I have no way of contacting him. We lost touch years ago. Maybe it's for the best. Some people are meant to be memories, and he's one of them. And yet, he's a vivid memory above the rest. Sometimes I could still hear his laugh.
Push or pull! No! What do you want from me?
Wait, that's it? So, no funny business? So that put together and admittedly well-edited montage was for nothing? Huh. I kind of expected more. I can't believe a shark game disguised as a toad put me through more emotions than this. Alright, I guess we could play this game if nothing bad's gonna happen. You know, actually, what kind of game did you pick, Eddie? God damn it! Theodore Geisel was an author and a guy that certainly exists at this point, but you may know him from his pen name, Dr. Seuss. He's responsible for many childhood classics such as Horton Hears a Who, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, The Lorax, and The Cat in the Hat. And that's about as far as I'm going to go into his works and him personally, because as I'm writing this, he's being crucified in Whoville Square, and I'm really not trying to anger anyone. Look at me. I'm already risking my integrity talking to this guy again. I don't want my career down the shitter too. Despite not wanting to go into his works, there is an important piece of information needed to understand how he got to this point. Up until his death in 1991, Seuss wasn't too keen on having any of his characters marketed outside of his books. We got lucky with the old cartoons released during his life, let alone marketing in general. But once he died, his wife took over licensing and figured that the best way to keep his legacy going was through permitting many different projects and merchandise Dr. Seuss themed, thinking it would be something he would want. To translate that for you, my husband's good virtue, I'll give a tip of the hat. But when it comes to my retirement fund, the cat'll help with that. And as such, here we are now decades later with TV shows, cartoons, games, and movies galore still going on with Seuss's beloved characters. One of my favorite memories is actually a TV show produced by Jim Henson Company called The Wubbulous World of Dr. Seuss, which I think is easily the best to capture the essence of Seuss's characters. At least the first season, because they made the second one for little kids due to the complaint of the first season being too dark, but I'm getting off track. But for this video, we need to look at one of the most controversial pieces that even Mrs. Seuss was disgusted by: the live-action adaptation of The Cat in the Hat starring Mike Myers. This film sucks. I admit I loved it as a kid. I'm not proud of it, but I loved it. Looking back now, I really wish I could forget about this movie. But despite its terrible plot and really creepy version of Cat, I can't help but want to go back and watch it. Granted, while shit-faced, but still, go back for old time's sake nonetheless. I'm not the only one to not like the film either. Seuss's wife, the one who literally gave media companies the rights to his work, was disgusted by the film and realized even fictional cats had their limits and promptly declared that no more live-action Seuss films would be made. But since it was still supposed to be a big movie coming out, merchandising was still a must to push this bad film. And amidst all the toys and whatnot, we got today's topic, Cat in the Hat on PS2. Releasing in 2003 right before the movie, that's not a good sign, is it? The game was developed by Magenta Software, who are the masterminds behind the well-known masterpiece of all time, Disney Think Fast, and published by Vivendi Universal Games, releasing on PS2, Xbox, Windows, and Game Boy. The Game Boy version being a completely different version from what we're playing today, as licensed games tend to do during this era. There isn't too much history behind this that I could find. It's really just a licensed game that released to cash in as much money and hype as possible during the movie's run. Not exactly uncommon, especially during the PS2 and GameCube eras, as I'm sure many of you who grew up with it, like I did, can vouch for. The most interesting piece of info that I could find is that there were plans for a GameCube release as well, but for some unknown reason that was scrapped before release time came. As you can imagine, this game received mixed and negative reviews upon release, particularly the Game Boy version. It's not very often a licensed game based on a bad movie is praiseworthy. I think the developers were aware the game probably wouldn't do well because stamped right onto the box is the idea that if you buy the game, you get a pass to watch the premiere of Cat in the Hat. I mean, I'm not a fan of the film, but when am I going to say no to a free movie? This is arguably better. I really don't have anything else to say involving this game's history. I never played it as a kid, oddly enough, even though I was obsessed with the movie. And seeing as how I got this for $8 at a local game store that I go to, there's probably a reason I forgot about this, up until me and my girlfriend found it for what we dub our bad game dates. But you know what? Spring is in the air, Seuss month is upon us, and I figured what better way to start 2021 for the Game Dimension off than something a little bit different than you would expect and what could be a hidden gem, but is probably going to be as messy as the movie. I hope you're ready, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time to visit an old friend with a new look. This is Cat in the Hat for PS2. We start off with the cat recapping the movie up until where the game takes place, and immediately I'm not too sure about this game, because that is definitely not Mike Myers.
Okay, here's the story. It was a windy, rainy day. Then, to everyone's surprise, I turn up and cheer up some kids. But then, what do you know? My magical crate is opened, the lock stolen.
I'm getting Mr. Krabs from Battle for Bikini Bottom vibes, and those are some cursed vibes, so I'm already regretting my decisions. The story so far is the basic plot of the movie. Conrad and Sally aren't having fun, and Cat comes in to try to bring the good times, albeit by being an asshole and messing up the house. However, the game proceeds to deviate from the movie because Larry, the jerk boyfriend of the mother, is the one that steals the crab lock and wants to use the powers that unleash in the crate to rule the world, instead of Conrad taking the lock just because he's a curious kid. This is stupid. I know it's not uncommon for licensed games to take liberties from the movie, but the reason any of this happens is because the kids are learning life lessons and growing up. Larry is just there to try to send Conrad to military school so he can bang his mom. Why couldn't you have just recapped the movie to that point and say that Larry stole the crab lock so the magic will overflow and Conrad can be busted and shipped off, and it's up to the cat to not only fix the mess, but stop Larry? There, easy, it's not that hard. I only have a problem with this because instead of sounding like a stuck-up jerkface like in the movie, he sounds like Dr. Evil trying to take over the world for some reason.
You will never stop me, Cat.
This could have been done to not spoil the plot of the movie, sure, but sealing the crate happens 3/4 into the movie, and the recap gives out the general plot line anyway, so what's the point? I have no problem with tinkering around with a license game, but if you're doing a license game off of a movie, at least try and keep some form of continuity so it doesn't mess with the characterization of important players in the film you're basing it on. I'm already more irritated than I should be for this game, so why don't we actually start it and... Jesus Christ, what is that? How could they have made the cat look worse than this? It looks like the cat had a little too much catnip and is tripping out right now, man. It's not just him either. All of the character models for Sally, Conrad, and Larry look like they were painted with watercolor and then washed really quickly before they could finish drying. They're so lifeless and horrifying. Actually, I guess that captures the spirit of the movie well. Good job. You know, I don't have to play this game. I have hundreds of games upstairs that span different consoles. Why don't we play a SpongeBob game? My channel's 1-year anniversary is coming up, so it only seems fitting. You bring up a fair point. Once we enter the house, Larry runs into a grandfather clock that's been warped by the magic, and we have to enter the level and give chase to him. This is how we go from level to level, and I'm a fan of it, honestly. The house, like in the movie, is being warped by magic, so of course the levels are going to be around the house. The fact that they're all in places like clocks, tubs, and even cars makes them even more unique. It's like Cat's world is still trying to merge with ours, and these levels are just bridges between them that have been warped. It's pretty clever, honestly. And quite frankly, these levels don't look half bad either. They're all imaginative and manage to take advantage of the world around them to look unique and clever, such as the fridge having massive landscapes of food and skyscraper orange juice cartons, and the tub being filled with bath toys and soap bars as platforms. There are definitely levels that feel a bit lazier in their designs compared to the rest, however. Like, wow, we're in a car and you chose to make it look like a cross between the Lorax's Climax and Mad Max, with a bit more green and gray. How original. But even then, those aren't that bad, just lazier feeling compared to the rest of the game. This is surprisingly a well thought out idea. Instead of just going around the messed up house after Larry, we shrink down into these items and experience it all as if we were the size of an ant. That's clever level design. One could make the argument that graphically the game isn't much of a looker, just like the character models, but for a licensed game, it's actually not half bad. It uses bright colors for the most part that we associate with Dr. Seuss media, and even though it does sometimes look a bit washed out, there's a charm to it that reminds me of Wubbulous World of Dr. Seuss that makes it a bit better. If you've seen the show, you would know that they used a blue screen for all of their backdrops, meaning that if it wasn't a puppet or a set piece, it was computer generated right then and there. They weren't exactly the best even by standards back then, but it did give the show a bit more charm. It still managed to capture the world perfectly in my opinion. That's how I feel about this game graphically in regards to the world. It almost feels like it's replicating the feel of the show to ease you into the strange game world instead of just thrusting you into it like in the movie. Whether this was on purpose or not is debatable, but looking at this licensed game from that angle, it's a pretty well made game. That doesn't excuse the character models though. They still look hideous and show no emotion. They're not the world. They're living things after all. They should at least look, well, living. Anyway, in regards to the gameplay...
Vroom, baby, vroom!
What?
Welcome to the jungle, baby!
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, that could have been a catastrophe.
Have you always sounded like this? Oh, come on, why aren't you talking now, huh? Cat got your tongue? Oh. Oops. One of the other things they translated over from the movie, unfortunately, is the cat's inability to stop talking and also say some unfunny things. At the beginning of every level, he offers some quip in regards to the world he's in, and throughout he'll constantly keep running his mouth with such classics like, meow, and my personal least favorite,
You've got this game set on really, really hard, haven't you?
They are all unfunny. I could tolerate them at first, but when he's constantly saying something for almost every jump, every step you take, every move you make, and every breath you take, it gets to be next level annoying. You know you're not funny and getting on my nerves when I prefer hearing... but Bubsy. The worst part of all this game's dialogue is right here. This jerk. I want to fillet this fish. First, it's the constant stopping us in the clock level to give us tips on how to do moves that bothers me. I get it. He's here to teach us the game. But could you maybe space him out in the level instead of every 5 seconds to stop us from actually learning the mechanics? At that point, you're just better off making an entire tutorial right before we go anywhere. He appears everywhere too, which I don't understand because after the first level, he's not needed at all. If you know the book or the movie, you know the fish and cat do not get along because the cat is a mess maker. The movie has them interact way more with trash talking, and every once in a while, it does end up being a little funny. In the game, however, it's just downright malicious. The fish will give you a tip and throw in some smart-ass comment right afterwards, trying way too hard to be funny. But after the first level, if you try to interact with him, he chooses violence and hints at possibly hoping that you die. Like, aren't you the one wanting me to clean up this mess? Not exactly a way to show appreciation, my dude. But the worst part of all of this is the cat, who no matter what he says, blatantly wants the fish to be murdered, saying he looked better covered in batter and always asking where a shark is when he needs it. It doesn't even capture the movie, it's just downright unfunny and repetitive. Ooh boy, we haven't even gotten to the gameplay yet and we're already not off to a good start. Why don't we test the gameplay and see if it holds up? This game is a 2.5D platformer, meaning that it plays like a 2D platformer for the most part with its side-to-side mechanics, but sprinkles in some 3-dimensional movement here and there to spice things up. Whether it's moving up or down or even moving around to get to the next section through 3D movement. Honestly, not a bad genre for this game. I feel like making the game a full-on 3D platformer would show the limitations of Cat's moveset that they give him here. This feels just right, and lets you explore the impressive levels without compromising too much of how Cat controls. Again, a perfect genre to go with. I mean, it was either this or beat 'em ups, and I'm not sure how that'll go with the chaotic energy of this demon. Anyways, since it's a platformer, you know the drill by now. You run and jump on enemies to... Wait, you take damage when you try to jump on enemies? Okay, so how do we deal with them, you may ask? Simple, really. By shooting bubbles at them to capture them and use them as ammo. So we're like a bootleg Metroid? In all seriousness though, this is how we solve a lot of the puzzles and obstacles in our way in this game. We capture an enemy in a bubble and we can use them to either take out boxes in our way, hit targets to activate platforms, and also hit other enemies. However, there are certain boxes and obstacles that can only be destroyed by these explosive goo balls. Just bubble and shoot them and nothing can stop you. It's a simple move, sure, but it's effective and they don't try and get fancy with it at any point, which I can appreciate. Some licensed games try way too hard to make their moveset intricate and it does more harm than good. Not here though. Vivendi made sure the Cat's main move was simple enough for anyone to use with just enough versatility to get some decent interactions with the environment. However, when it comes to shooting anything in the background, such as boxes or things, which we'll get to soon enough, the move does start to show its cracks, unfortunately. You don't have any sort of auto lock here, so you have to try and line yourself up with your target and shoot. Most of the times, it's not the worst, but there are times where you'll be lined up perfectly, but the depth perception either has you barely missing it, or you're right on the dot, but the platform just barely blocks it, so you don't land a hit, and if you're not using the explosive goo, you just wasted your time, and have to go find another enemy to bubble and use, which is annoying as hell. It's even worse when there's something you need to shoot and you're on a moving platform or a platform that disappears a second after you step on it. It makes getting targets and collectibles needlessly painful in these instances. Again, the move itself is fine, but these moments are just unnecessarily annoying for something that should be simple. As for the other moves, there's an umbrella ability that activates once you press the jump button again that can act as a hover and glide for you to get across long distance platforms and also slow your ascent for a second so you can get strings of magic, the main collectible of this game, or dodge an enemy. At first, it felt a bit awkward to use and get the hang of because it deactivates rather quickly compared to what you would expect from a move like this, but it does get some good usage once you get the hang of it, especially in the bonus stages. Ah yes, the good old bonus stages. I suppose I should talk about those really quick. Throughout the level you'll find things. No, not things, but things. You know, the creepy beaver-looking sleep paralysis demons? I still see them in my sleep, man. The things are just casually chilling in the background holding keys, and once you shoot them into oblivion with your bubbles, they'll drop the keys for you to collect. Get all 4 of them and you unlock the bonus stage, which always involves Cat running away from something, whether it's water, lasers, or the occasional alien. You know, things cats are afraid of. These serve as a way for you to collect more magic, these clipboards that also appear throughout the levels, and also the diamonds that unlock a bonus level, which we will absolutely get to soon enough. Soon. They're wicked easy. I found myself way ahead of the obstacle most of the time and never felt threatened. Once in a while, I would even wait at the end and see how long it takes for the danger to reach me. You never feel like you're in danger in these. These are just clearly an excuse to place more collectibles throughout the game. The only time I ever felt like I was in trouble was when I was controlling this bubble by repeatedly tapping the circle button because it's never fast enough compared to the danger, especially when you lose all momentum by having to turn slightly to get around something and slowly have to build your speed back up. Think about it. You only feel like you're in danger because the game is slowing you down with a mechanic like this. That's not great game design, that's just making excuses for difficulty spikes. Also, I just hate the fact that I have to tap the circle button repeatedly. This gives Kingdom Hearts 2's final boss a run for its money. Carpal tunnel is real, man. To cap off the moveset, there's 2 other moves, a slam attack and also a shield that protects you from projectiles above you. These both feel useless, especially the shield. Hell, it feels like such an afterthought that you don't get a tutorial for it until 3/4 through the levels, even though you probably figured out how to use it by then, and even when you properly are taught how to use it, it can be ignored because any projectiles you may face stop after a second or two, so you can just run right by them. You will never find yourself using this move unless you accidentally press the triangle button. As for the slam, it's a bit more useful, but only because it's used to hit these buttons to activate platforms, and also this thing to blow up goo crates that stand in your way. You could use it for destroying regular crates, but the slam, for some reason, is so particular and needs you to be dead center on the crate for it to work. There have been times where I clearly hit the crate, but because it's not pinpoint, it won't destroy it, which is a headache and a half. Seuss could not bullshit enough words to write about how annoyed I get with this. So that's basically 2 moves that are useless, one that takes time getting used to, and another one that's generally good, but still has its cracks. It's not the greatest moveset out there, but it's still down the road decent. Until you play the game further, that is. Backtracking. If I could sum up the game's main problem holding it back, it's backtracking. These levels are huge and have twists and turns that'll leave you flustered because you'll see your main road is blocked and then have to go down 70 other paths just to find one button to destroy what's in your way and then run all the way back to continue your journey, only to be halted by another obstacle 5 seconds later and then backtrack again. Over and over again. Oh, but you have the bubble move, so it should make things easier, right? Not at all. Enemies throughout this game are scarce. They aren't real threats to you because they can be easily dodged, and because of this, they just feel like little scarcities of ammo that you have to find. And I really mean have to find, because you'll be going back and forth so many times because you're only allowed to carry 1 bubble at a time. You heard me right, 1. This is annoying as all hell, because you'll bubble up an enemy to use on crates, or a button to get a move on, and then a step later, another crate or blockage appears. So you think, okay, there has to be an enemy somewhere, right? Only to find out that there isn't, so you have to go back quite a distance to bubble one, to do it again, only to either go the wrong way, or just mess up somehow. It's insane, it's all padding, and I'm going nuts over how much backtracking there is in a game about a whimsical cat. Do you know how many times I pass by this stupid camera checkpoint that flashes way too bright for its own good just to get an enemy? It acts like a flashbang at this point that I might as well call this cat and duty wubbulous warfare! All this backtracking not only exposes the weak moveset even further, but also the level design beyond a surface level. You'll see the same enemy in the same spot 5 different times, you know the platform distances by heart in previous sections when you don't need it, and you'll see the same set pieces with no indication of when they're activating stop you for a few seconds because you don't want to risk taking damage. Do you know how fucking dumb it is to feel threatened not by enemies, but by the Grinch's feet? This is horrible game design. It took a simple moveset and idea for a game and just stretched it out beyond its control. And the thing is, I was having fun at first. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it either, but it wasn't too bad despite some of these moveset hiccups. But 3 levels in, I just started to become exhausted because I had to run back and forth for no reason other than the game developers giving up after the first level and saying, sweet, we got a good thing going on here, we don't need anything else, it's fucking Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers, who's giving us shit? I'm clocking out, see ya. This makes what feels like a 3-hour game and stretches it to 6 hours, roughly the same time to complete Maneater, which I'm still not sure about if it's a compliment or insult to either game yet.
You've ruined my life!
Speaking of horrible though, the bosses' doctors suck! You'd think in a game with creative worlds and some great enemy designs, the bosses would be fun, but it's just Larry 3 different times with the same machine where you have to shoot bubbles into the exhaust pipe to damage, then followed by shooting goo to get a piece of the crab block, or you start the last phase all over again. It's boring, unimaginative, and kind of a pain in the ass actually. First boss I spent more time on than I'm willing to admit, because his radius attacks offer a lack of decent depth perception for you to get a read on. It was frustrating and a complete wasted opportunity. This is Cat's world mixing with our world. You couldn't have had Larry team up with the Grinch or piss off a giant creature for us to battle. We would just go into a vast empty space that would look the same if it wasn't for the background setting reminding you that, hey, these are different levels. We're just gonna do that and look at the cat's vacant expression and Larry, who definitely did more drugs than whoever created Seussical? Now you're probably wondering by now why I'm still talking about the general gameplay and not going through each level to show how unique they are and whether I like or dislike them. And there's a good reason for that. Outside of their themes, they kind of all play the same. They do nothing unique with any of these levels at all. It's the same pattern for every single one. Run around bubbling up enemies, shoot some goo, collect some keys for a bonus stage, run back and forth so many times for one obstacle, get stopped for a few seconds by these giant obstacles with different skins to match the level theme because they have no indication they're going to attack, so you waste more time than needed to wait for them to finish, contemplate the meaning of life and have a mental breakdown with Kat on these random loading screens that happen between segments for some reason, and then stand and do nothing while Larry slinks away at the end of a level. Repeat 10 times as Larry jumps into the metaverse. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't having fun in the first few levels. It wasn't half bad by licensed game standards. It was simple, sure, but still enjoyable. But they do nothing to even distinguish the difference between levels beyond a cosmetic surface that it all feels like a really big and repetitive slog. Couple that with how the only difference between bosses is their attack patterns, and you have a game that is mind-numbingly boring. I know this was supposed to be a cash grab on the movie, but something's gotta give. There has to be something that isn't being said about the development of this game because the worlds feel so damn empty and samey in the foreground where you play. Okay, what gives, Kat? You're supposed to be all about fun, right? Well, this is anything but fun. Oh, real mature, pussy boy. Real mature. Glad you're getting fucking canceled. There really isn't much left to talk about the game, so let's go over a few things before we go on to the final boss and endings. First of all, the bonus stage. You unlock one last stage after you find all 10 diamonds in it in what I can only describe as Nether Portal's drugged up parent, Mystical Mirror. You want to guess what this stage entails? Going around a level that resembles nothing mystical nor mirror-like with no real reward or additional challenge. What did you expect, something fun? They couldn't have even done like a trippy mirror environment or dimension like it was a Pink Floyd music video? This is what I wasted my time on? An additional level where you collect more magic and more clipboards and the only challenge is less checkpoints? Are you kidding me? This is one of the worst bonus stages I have ever played. Not because of BS mechanics, not because of difficulty spikes, but because you could pass this off as literally any other regular stage in this game, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. Pathetic! I have mentioned these clipboards once or twice though, and they are another collectible. What do they entail? Well, they unlock scenes and clips from the movie. Why would I want to watch these? I barely want to watch the movie as a whole. They do make for some good meme templates at least, so if you see me using these still images, don't worry about it. Other than that, they serve no real purpose other than to remind you, hey, this is a movie coming out, there's a free pass in the game case, we swear it's a good movie, please don't use it as Kindle just yet. And in that regards, it does the job well. As a collectible in general, you won't really miss much if you skip these. Speaking about skipping, don't skip over the thought of listening to the game's soundtrack, because it's actually really good. The songs are kind of like Banjo-Kazooie's soundtrack, but bootleg and a lot more horns and jazz than banjo involved, and it's honestly kind of cute. They're not the greatest songs out there, but all things considered, the soundtrack really isn't half bad. And that's kind of it, honestly. I mean, what else can I talk about? The health is cake. That's cute, I guess. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying here, but I don't know how much more I can handle. So let's just go fight Larry in Toyland and— Wait a damn minute! Where did you two come from? You do nothing this entire game, and you just show up like you're gossiping about why Ken won't let Sally play anymore. Are you kidding? This game could be over in 5 seconds if you just stop him. He's right there. Fucking bite his ankles or something. Ah! We go into Toy World and fight the same boss again. Great. The platforms are mostly ones that collapse once you step on them, though. Oh no. You get the crab lock back. Nice. Larry, I'm pretty sure, just died in a fiery explosion for no reason. Hooray. Game over. What is the ending?
Yeehaw!
Am I good or what? Ouch! This cat is hot tonight! No! Ouch! That smarts. Okay, that's the whole shebang.
Everything I just said about the game up until now? Forget it. This game's a masterpiece. I think I just witnessed art here, ladies and gentlemen. Really. How can it get any better than this? Cat floats in stiff as a board after he probably did some ketamine and then appears close up of his face more detached from his body than in the movie, and then storms off only to be assassinated by the developers with their end card last second. This is poetry in motion. This is game of the century right here. Should I be more mad that this ending and the 100% ending are less than half a minute long and don't even cover the rest of the movie or show Cat truly cleaning up his mess after the crate is locked? Yes. Yes, I should. But I think I've truly gone numb to what this game throws at me. It's just magic. Just like that, though, that was Cat in the Hat for PS2. I guess.
That was interesting. It was a game about a weird-ass cat. It's review time, though, and you know a lot about that, so... was this game any good, or did the cat cough up a big hairball with this one? I'm sorry, guys. I really tried. This game isn't any good. Like, at all.
I didn't have high expectations going into this, and I was enjoying myself at first with its simplistic gameplay. But everything past the first hour went completely south. The worlds are wonderfully made and the gameplay is simple to grasp, but this game does nothing beyond that. The gameplay, while simple, is quickly repetitive once you realize there's no added layers to how you use your moves. The character models are hideous, the bosses all stink, the collectibles and rewards for finding them just don't cut it. And the levels are all sadly played the same, with no variations. And once you played the first few levels and the first boss, you could easily stop there because you've seen it all. There was some interesting groundwork to make this game unique and a standout in the licensed game curse, but it doesn't go anywhere and much like the movie, fails to execute the experience of Dr. Seuss it's trying to give you. I'm so disappointed that the game fell down so quickly, and if it wasn't for all the backtracking that was done instead of simple fixes, like having more than one bubble available, it probably would have been a middle-of-the-road average game to me, and I still would have enjoyed it. But details and lack of polish like that really stack up, and make this game a huge chore to get through. I'm glad I didn't get this game for the regular retail price tag it went for back then. This would have felt like a ripoff. If you want to play this game, definitely snag it if you could find it for less than $10. Anything more is thievery, and if you do play it in very short sessions. Maybe then the repetition won't be as bad for you and you'll find some enjoyment out of it. But a game shouldn't have to be forcefully played like that to get any enjoyment out of it. By the time the game checked out and threw a glitch at me that forced me to restart the level, I was well beyond checked out myself. Much like the movie, this is something that I truly wish I could forget.
There, are you happy now, cat? I played your stupid game. It was a mess from start to finish. Can you please leave now? Oh, no. We are not doing this here. We're not doing the whole character makes me play a shitty game and then fights me trope. You don't deserve that type of attention. You know what? Just take the shitty game back with you to the shit dimension and get out of my house. God, I need to lock my doors so these weird games stop showing up. But either way, guys, this game is a prime example of a licensed game that could have had something interesting but didn't. And this was a continuous thing back in the early 2000s. They're not like licensed games today where they're meant to be shit and are clearly something to cash in on the brand. These could have gone somewhere, but they didn't. And Cat in the Hat is one of those games, and is easily the worst game I've reviewed on this channel so far. And yet, I feel like this isn't the last time we've seen a bad licensed game on this channel. But that's going to be it for today, though. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. And before you go, it's question time. Have you played the Cat in the Hat before? What do you think of it if you have? Do you think it's better or worse than the movie? And finally, what's a licensed game that you can think of that had so much potential but just face-planted in the end? I'm actually dying to know the answer to this one, especially. Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I'll see you guys next time for a recent release that I'm sure none of you have heard of, but has certainly caught my eye. This is Benson from the Game Dimension signing off. Have a good day, guys. Ow! What the fuck? And I'll see you next time when I have you play The Grinch for PS1. Son of a bitch!